ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति। We continue with the chapter meditation. The principle of meditation. Yeah, principle of meditation padinga.
Principle of meditation. The principle underlying meditation is as you think, so you become. Thinking is conscious thought force, not mere mental intelligence. When your mind on its own flows towards an object, instead let your intellect set an objective, a goal in your life. Let it constantly channel your thought and effort toward the goal. You shall gain your objective. The same principle works in the spiritual field. Set self-realization as your objective in life. Let your intellect shift the mind's focus from world to the self within. Keep the mind steady in single-pointed meditation upon the self. Meditation upon the self. You then become the self. You attain the state of self-realization. Realization of the self is defined as desirelessness, thoughtlessness. If that be so, how can the thought of self in meditation bring about the state of thoughtlessness? It seems paradoxical, but it works in actual practice. When you hold the mind focused in single pointed concentration upon a mantra word symbol, the thought ultimately dissolves into silence, into the enlightened state of thoughtlessness. Sankaracharya explains this phenomenon in his text Atma Bodha by the simile of purifying water with a cleansing agent known as Kataka nut powder. The powder acts in the same way as alum does for cleansing water of its impurities. The powder is sprinkled on the surface of the impure water. It forms a slimy film on top. Fine particles of suspended impurities stick to the bottom of the film. The film becomes heavier, it goes down gradually. More impurities stick to it. In the process, all impurities settle down to the bottom along with the film. The significant part of the process is that cleansing agent itself settles down along with the impurities. Pure water stands above it. So it is with the process of meditation. The divine self is polluted with thoughts. The thought of mantra displaces all other thoughts and itself disappears in the heat of meditation, exposing the supreme self that lies beyond the thought.
As you think, so you become. He says the principle of meditation is on this law. As you think, so you become. Think you are strong, you become strong. Think you are weak, you become weak. Think you are bound, you will be in bondage. Think you are in freedom, you become. Think you are free, you become free. That is the law. A conscious thought force is what meditation is all about. Keeping the mind intellect, keeping the mind in single pointed thought upon the self. Intellect keeping the mind single pointed upon the self is called meditation. It is that thought of single pointedness. Single pointedness meaning there is no further development of any thought. There is no further addition of any, there is no further development of any thought. There is no further addition of any thought. It doesn't branch off into very many thoughts. It is focused on one. Now there is a contradiction. Self-realization is defined as thoughtlessness. If self-realization is defined as thoughtlessness, how can the thought of self brings about thoughtlessness? This is what we have to really understand when it comes to knowledge. To put it very simply, imagine a brightly illumined room. Imagine that, brightly illumined room. Every object in that room is pervaded and illumined by light. Because of the light pervading and illumining all objects of the room, you are able to experience the object. When you are experiencing the object, you are experiencing the light also that pervades the object. Not only you are experiencing the object, you are experiencing the light that pervades the object. So, whichever object you experience or all objects that are experienced, in that experience of object, what is included?
Light.
Light is included. You don't notice it, you take it for granted, you don't pay attention to it. Second, you don't require any special effort to experience the light. You don't require any special effort to experience the light. You need the knowledge of the object to understand the object, but light you don't need any effort. It is experienced straight away. Straight away light is experienced. Meaning, even empty room is experienced because the emptiness is an object, and that emptiness itself is because of the light. Correct. That emptiness itself is because of the light. Therefore, you don't need any special experience to, any special effort to experience the light. All experiences, this is the formula. All experiences include light experienced. All experiences include light experienced. After a while, replace light with
Self.
self and objects with your own self. Then it becomes, then the comparison becomes easy to follow. Self and Brahman you do, light and objects I'll do. Easy portion I'll take, difficult portion use it and do. Now, what is happening? You don't require any special effort to recognize the light. You don't require any special guidance to experience the light. You cannot escape from light. You cannot avoid the light. You cannot escape light. You cannot move away from light. But you can turn blind to it. But you can turn blind to it. What is happening now? Light is there. You cannot escape it. You are experiencing it, but you have turned blind. Why you have turned blind to the light? Because too much of focus on the object. Too much of focus on the object. Object has the shape, the name, and the form. And then you realize the light that is pervading doesn't have any shape. That's why it is able to illumine all objects of all shapes and sizes, because by itself it doesn't have any form. The formless light illumines all the objects that has form. We are supposed to have come to this level for we are talking about meditation and all, no? It is implied that our thinking is stretched to this height. Formless, limitless light illumines the formed, limited objects. Again, I repeat. Formless, limitless light illumines the formed, limited objects. Human mind is exactly like the brightly illumined room. Every thought in the mind is pervaded by and illumined by the light of
Consciousness.
Exactly correct. Every thought, when you experience every thought, what are you experiencing? In the experience of every thought, what is experienced? Consciousness is experienced. Just as in every object that is experienced, light is. You cannot experience the object minus the light. Similarly, you cannot experience the thought minus the consciousness. Even when you say empty mind, I want to keep my mind empty. That emptiness also is, what is that emptiness? That emptiness also is experienced because of the consciousness backing it. This consciousness is desirelessness, thoughtlessness. For this consciousness is desirelessness, thoughtlessness. How can bringing in a thought can take you to
Thoughtlessness.
thoughtlessness? That is the question. Are you okay till now? The question that we are analyzing is how can you bring
A thought.
thought to a thoughtless consciousness? Thoughtlessness. The moment you bring in a thought, the moment you bring in any thought, thought arises in relation to the instrument and the respective object. Thought is that which connects the instrument and the object. Again, I repeat, what is the thought? There is the world outside. Here you are the individual. What is it that connects you with the world? You are connected to the world by the medium of
Thought.
thoughts. And all these thoughts that arise, exist, and die away happens in the
Medium of.
backdrop of supported by that thoughtless, formless consciousness. In meditation, what are you doing? In meditation, what are you doing? What we saw already. In meditation, the focus, the attempt is on
One single thought.
not from
External.
focusing the attention between two thoughts. What is it that is between two thoughts? Linguistically, we call it as silence. Linguistically, we call it as silence, but the right word is not between two thoughts, it's not silence. Between two thoughts, it's called consciousness. So in meditation, what is the focus? You try to retain the focus on consciousness with the aid of a mantra. With the aid of the mantra, you focus on the consciousness and that consciousness between
Two thoughts.
two thoughts. When you are focusing on that mantra, which is a thought, and the attempt that you make to focus on between the two thoughts, that thoughtless consciousness, what happens? You merge with that supreme consciousness. You merge with that supreme consciousness. So it is not that from thought you are getting into thoughtlessness. At some point of time, the thought itself is dropped. When the thought itself is dropped, what remains is the truth, which is known as the consciousness. That is, experiencing the consciousness is what realization is all about. Experiencing the consciousness. And that consciousness is thoughtless state. If it is stretching too much, don't worry. Yeah? Because of this lesson, we are studying all this. Once we leave this and go to the next lesson, we will not bother about this meditation and all that. The principle of meditation ought to be understood very, very clearly. A thought can never take you to thoughtlessness. But in practice, what happens? We have seen in Atma Bodha, the example that is quoting is from Atma Bodha, and we have seen that in Atma Bodha also when we did that verse. Kataka nut powder. Kataka nut powder. The way to purify the water is in a tub, in a bucket, kataka nut powder is sprinkled and it forms a thin layer. When it forms a thin layer, the particles stick to that filmy surface. When the particles stick to the filmy surface, it starts sinking down. When it starts sinking down, it gathers more dust particles, more the dirt to it, more the weight. Finally, what happens? It reaches the, finally what happens? It reaches the bottom and the clear water is above. The cleansing agent itself goes down along with the dirt. That's why the kataka nut powder is beautiful example. The cleansing agent, the kataka nut, as it is, the water is dirty. And you are adding kataka nut powder, which is also another
Dirt.
which is also another dirt. But this dirt has a unique property. What is the unique property? This is how in those days they used to purify water. There is no RO plant and all is there. No, nowadays we have this RO plant and all. So in those days where there is no RO plant, kataka nut powder is used. And Shankaracharya uses that example to explain the principle of meditation. The divine self is polluted with thoughts. When we say the divine self is polluted with thoughts, what does it mean? The room is full of objects and the focus of yours is on the
Object.
object. That is what pollution is. The room is full of objects and your focus is on objects. In meditation, what has happened? The individual has evolved to a height, the individual has grown to a spiritual height, where the shift has happened from the objects to the light that illumines the
Object.
object. The focus has shifted. Since the focus has shifted, he is able to retain. What he is able to retain? The mantra. Or the important aspect of meditation is mantra. And that mantra itself is another thought, but mantra acts like kataka nut powder. When it displaces all other thoughts, the thought of mantra also gets displaced. And what remains is the pure consciousness. What remains is the pure consciousness. This is the principle of meditation. All revolving around as you think, so you become. You're able to follow. On as you think, so you become. It's a very simple, straightforward law. It's not complicated at all to understand the principle of meditation. Now we move on to the next topic, the symbol Om.
The symbol Om. Om is acclaimed as the most powerful word symbol of Brahman, the supreme reality, God.
Yes.
It is known as Pranava. Pranava means that which pervades life. Om is used in meditation by spiritual seekers. Brahman is the ultimate goal a human being can aspire to reach. One cannot reach it directly through body, mind, or intellect. Brahman is not something that your sense organs can perceive, nor is it an emotion your mind can feel, nor a thought your intellect can conceive. It remains unknown. Most people need a known idol to reach an unknown ideal. Some need a gross idol with a form, a stone, a metal, or any solid substance. Others can do with a subtler form like fire. Thus, fire has been a common idol of worship in many religions. The subtlest idol is sound. It is considered subtlest since only one of the five sense organs, ear, can contact it. And all sounds, Om is acclaimed the most natural, most potent. There, there are reasons for the choice. One, sound can be classified under two categories, inarticulate and articulate. Inarticulate sound, also known as intonational, deals with feeling, emotion of the mind, concerns the heart, whereas the articulate sound, also known as alphabetical, can be recited in the letters of alphabet. It deals with the knowledge, understanding by the intellect, concerns the head. However, articulate sound has a limited application. It can be transacted only by those who have gone through the particular training, learned that language, learned that language. Imagine a Persian meeting a Russian. One tries to communicate to the other in one's language. Neither of them understands the other. But when one laughs or cries, the other instantly knows he is happy or unhappy. Such communication is inarticulate, intonational, a universal way by which even babies and animals can communicate. Music is another example of intonation. The sound of music has a positive effect on beings. It produces great results. The symbol Om has the distinction of being both articulate and inarticulate, alphabetical and intonational. It has a deep philosophical significance, while the chant of Om has an extraordinary effect on human beings. The two aspects together help an individual attune with the eternal being. 2. Om is constituted of three sounds, three letters A, U, and M. In Sanskrit grammar, A and U coalesces to form O. Thus, A, U, and M together is pronounced as Om. Even the mute can produce the sound of Om. Om. A is guttural sound. It emanates from throat. There is no sound below the throat. U is the sound produced when it courses through the mouth, and M is where it ends with lips closed. There is no sound beyond that. Thus, Om covers the full range of sound, represents the entire phenomenon of sound. The chant of Om produces peace and harmony around. Om symbolizes the pure consciousness, the consciousness that pervades waking, dream, and deep sleep states. A represents the world experienced in the waking state of consciousness, while U represents the world of dream state of consciousness, and M the nothingness of the deep sleep state of consciousness. While chanting Om, the meditator must focus his concentration on that pure consciousness, the supreme self that supports the three states all through life. 4. The mantra word symbol Om does not belong to any religion. It is merely a symbol of the ultimate reality. It represents the pure consciousness, the supreme God. It is nature's word. not subject to conjunction, inflection, or grammatical manipulation as other words are. Om occupies a very special place with reference to God. God is said to be omniscient, omnipotent, omnipresent. These words begin with Om. Even prayers in different languages end with Aman, Amin, which again is reference to Om. In practice of meditation, the mind chants the mantra Om. Between every two successive chants, there is a momentary silence. That silence is known as amatra. The intellect discriminates between sound and silence, between mantra and amatra. As long as the chant lasts, there is thought flow which establishes the presence of mind. And with thoughts flowing, the pair of thought and silence exists for the intellect to continue operating. In the peak of meditation, the chant ends in a silence. The thought flow ceases. The mind becomes extinct. There is no longer the pair of thought and silence. Consequently, the intellect ceases. Thus, the meditator transcends both mind and intellect. His individual self merges with Supreme Self, gains spiritual enlightenment.
The thought that you focus on is Om. The principle of meditation, they said the mantra. What is the thought? The Kataka nut powder thought. The Kataka nut powder thought is Om. And we are studying about the Om. Mantra means the word symbol. Idol is a gross physical symbol. Mantra is a subtle thought symbol. Both are symbols. Both are idols. Om is an idol of thought, the sound, just as we have a physical idol. We have the idol of Ganesha, we have the idol of Subramanya, we have the idol of Balaji. All these are gross physical idols. Om is a subtle thought idol, symbol, but both are, all are idols only. And for the mind to focus, an idol is required. For the mind to focus, an idol is required. The unknown ideal is symbolically represented through a known idol. Brahman is the unknown ideal, the unknown goal, the unknowable goal. It's not the unknown goal. Through the body, mind, and intellect, it cannot be known through the body, mind, and intellect instruments. The unknowable goal. The spiritual seeker, the meditator, uses a known idol to represent the unknowable ideal. What is that? Here, it is the Om. Some people use a gross idol. Some people use a gross idol, not ideal, sorry. Some people use a gross idol. A gross idol with the form, a stone, whatever be it. Others use idol Not a carved stone, but just a stone. Idols. There are grades of idols that people use. The deity, when I go to the, we have this deity of our family deity. Whenever we visit the temple, so beautiful to see that. Just three stones are kept, no shape, no nothing. Just the three stones will be there. That's all. In that three stones, you have to assume the form. There is no form. Just three stones. On what basis they decided those three stones? And you see all that is. So some uses an idol with a form. Some uses just the stone. Some uses fire, the subtlest that you can use, the best, the subtlest, the noblest that one can use is Om. And Vedanta, all enlightened masters recommend Om for as the mantra for chanting in meditation. So Om is that which is sanctioned, which has the approval of the Shastras. Om is that which has the approval of the enlightened masters to use as a mantra in meditation. The subtlest is sound. The subtlest is sound. There are very many symbols, very many idols. The subtlest is sound, and that Om is the amongst the sound. Om is the subtlest. Why it is the subtlest? For various reasons that we will see later. First, we are going to see the most natural, the most potent, the most powerful sound is
Oh.
Om. So they say use. So they say use Om. So primarily, what is the first thing? Why Om is used? Four reasons he is quoting. Four reasons he is quoting. The first reason, all languages is sound. All languages, all methods of communication is through, and I say all means through the sound medium we mean predominantly. The sound is of two categories, articulate and inarticulate. Articulate is the meaning that comes from the language. And that word itself has the direct meaning and an implied meaning. And all this belongs to the category of articulate. There is the direct meaning, and then there is an implied meaning. You need lot of training in the language and thinking to understand the difference between the direct meaning and the implied meaning. And if you know all this, it's not that you have mastered communication. One aspect of it is mastered. What? The articulate. The articulate part of it is done. Inarticulate, also known as intonational, is the important aspect of sound. The intonational. Yeah. The sound and how you produce the sound The emotions that play when you produce the sound is intonational. The emotions that come into play when you produce the sound is intonational. Articulate is alphabetical. Articulate is alphabetical. Alphabetical is trained. What are we trained in? We are trained in English. So we are talking in English. So our training is in the language. We are trained to understand the sound produced in a particular way, which we call as English language. That's what English language is. All languages is that, no? Supposing a Russian were to come and sit and talk, or if two Russians were talking, we will not understand. We will not understand a word because we are not trained to receive the articulate meaning. In this classroom, we speak in English, and all those who knows this English language comes and receives the information because it is, you have training in this articulate. And articulate has its own limitations. The articulate language, that's what he says. It has its own articulate sound, has a limited application. Articulate sound has a limited application. Why it has a limited application? The same word carries different meanings to different. The word is the same. It carries different meanings. The word cool means something to the current generation. By the word cool, I understand something different. The word is the same, but then the meanings, that is a limited application of articulate sound. It has its own limited applications. And communication, sound has the intonational value. Example, music. Example, music. The sound of music produces a positive effects on beings. Intonational value. The chant Om has much more subtler effect on a human being than any other thing. Therefore, in meditation, it is used because what is the great result it produces? It soothes the mind. It calms the mind. That calm mind, recognizing the Atman, recognizing the Brahman, is the chances are more when the mind is, and Om helps. Please understand, all this helps only. We need not repeat it again and again and again. It will be helpful only if you have done all the initial sadhanas properly and then chant Om. If you chant Om, nothing will happen. Yeah. You chant Om now, nothing will happen. Yeah. He says, Om, 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 Om. After a 10th chant, it will become Home. Yeah. Om lende the thought will go to home. From home, it will go to, from home, it will go to somewhere else. So when they say Om, what is implied here is the prepared mind is doing the chant. Om. And I think SRL Shankar is coming from San Francisco. I don't think he's from India. SRL Shankar has come from San Francisco. I think so. That's why A, U, is not saying. He's saying A, U, M. When you say Om, I was thinking at least once he will say A, U, I thought maybe he's from a different planet, that he didn't know these three sounds. A, U, and Shankar, you are from where? Which planet? I was wondering where is it? I was wondering where is this AUM in Om? Then I said, okay, it is transliterated. The AUM is the transliteration of A, U, and there is the way in which you chant the A, the U, the in the most natural way. And if it is chanted in the most natural way, which is what the intonational effect is all about. And this is what the intonational effect is all about. So, articulate and inarticulate. The inarticulate conveys much more meaning than the articulate. You eat the food and the food is very tasty, and you are asked, how is the food? You are eating, the food is very tasty. You are asked, how is the food? You say, what language is that? That is called intonation. That's all. Message is communicated. How is the food? That is what language? Body language, sir, it is. It is called body language. Yeah? It is called intonational, where there is the sounds convey, the sounds convey. And the intonational communication is subtler than articulate. The inarticulate communication is subtler than articulate. For the inarticulate is more universal. The articulate is language based, training based. The articulate is based on training, language based. The inarticulate is more universal. And this that which is universal is what we use in meditation. What is universal sound? Om is a universal sound. Om is a universal sound. The shortest Upanishad is Mandukya Upanishad. It has got only 7 mantras. Even before you adjust yourself to sit properly, Upanishad is over. The teacher will get up and walk away. You said, wait, I'm just now adjusting myself to sit, because by the time 7 mantras finished. Of the 7 mantras, 3 are repeated. So for all practical purposes, it is only 5 mantras. Brahman is Om. And Om is A, U, and Waking state, dream state, deep sleep state. Above, beyond these three states, beyond Om is Brahman. Upanishad over. Mandukya Upanishad. Beautiful. There he says, Om is Brahman. Mundaka Upanishad says, Om itye aksharam Brahma. Om is the target, he says. Om is he uses the bow and arrow example, and Om, Brahman is the target, Om. So all Upanishads starts with praising the importance and glory of this Pranava mantra, Om. Even our invocatory prayer starts with Om Sahana Bhavatu. All mantras start with Om. All mantras that we chant starts with Om. Because the chant itself has a soothing effect, intonational effect. See, soothing, it's so difficult to talk about this nowadays because you believe there is some mystical mantra, there is some mystical power here, and that mystical power will bring about vibrations, and that vibrations will. People go into weird hallucinations. And the mystical, even the ordinary worldly fellow doesn't go into so much of hallucinations. People go into so much of hallucinations in the name of God and Brahman and enlightenment. That is why we don't talk about this hallucinations. We don't talk about this intonational thing so much. Don't give any mysticism to it. Don't give any supernatural, mystical thing and all to it. It is there is nothing mystical or supernatural. Anything natural itself is enough. It is supernatural. You don't need something extra supernatural. Om. When you say Om, all the three sounds you have to make. The sound of A, the sound of U, and A, U, A, U, அவ்வளவுதான். Sir, பெரிய screenல we are seeing you, sir. கொஞ்சம் go a little bit back and கொஞ்சம் out of focus போயிடும். A, U, and then a training. You have to train to that A should merge with with U, and the U to merge with and then it forms a beautiful rhythmic cycle. The beautiful rhythmic cycle. Training, lot of training is required to do that. Lot of pranayama practices is required. Lot of training is required to chant this Om to experience the intonational benefit. One. Second, if somebody chants, you will not get any benefit. If he chants, that fellow will get the benefit. Whoever is chanting will get that benefit. I went, sir, people were chanting Om. I also felt something. Nothing of that sort and all will happen. If somebody is chanting, that fellow will get that. Therefore, intonational means don't misunderstand it as mystical, supernatural. Don't give that flavor to it. Understand it as a natural sound. Anything that closer to the natural sound soothes you. And Om, being the most natural sound, calms you to the core. That's what it means. Om being the most natural sound calms you to the to the code. When you are having the pain, the fever, the fellow, like, Ramatirtha says how the Om is so all-pervading in all the sounds that we make. The pleasurable sounds, the painful sounds, the joyful sound, when we are in joyful moments, the sound that we make, the painful areas, the sound we make, all has this A, O, and E. Therefore, it is the most natural sound that brings about a calmness. In articulate sound, you need a meaning. In inarticulate sound, it's better because you don't need a meaning. Articulate sound must have a meaning. It should have a meaning. You should have a pattern. You should have a logic. Which akshara, which alphabet must go where, and alphabets must be sequentialized. And the alphabet sequentialized is what is the word, and the words joined is the sentence. Sentence joined is the paragraph. Paragraph joined is the book. Communication. So all that boils down towards the alphabets arranged in sequence. The Oriental languages, we read as we write. If you have observed, we read as we write, we read. In Oriental languages, we don't have the concept of silent word, no? Sorry, silent letter, silent alphabet. As you write, you read. The sound are arranged in the sounds are arranged in such a sequential, easier form to read, to write, to make sense, articulate. When we chant, when we choose a mantra for meditation, we have to choose that mantra in such a way that you should be getting both the benefits. What are the benefits? Articulate and inarticulate. Om is the only mantra that has this benefit of articulate and inarticulate, because it is natural. So all shastras, literature, the great masters prescribe Om. We have 3 more reasons. We just finished one reason. In the next session, we will take up the other reasons that is given. For rarely we get a chance to speak on this mantra Om. Now that we are reading it, we will see it as much as we can. First reason is mantra must have the benefit of articulate and inarticulate combined. Unless you know the story of Rama and you have heard the story of Rama a million times, chanting the name of Rama will make sense then only. If you do not know the story of Ramayana, if you have not heard anything about Rama, and you are made to sit in the chanting of Ram, 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 what you will hear there? Nothing. Because the articulate alone is beneficial there. In meditation, we choose something which should have the benefit of articulate and inarticulate. And they found out of all the sounds they have analyzed, they found out that Om is the best. They found out. Lot of studies have been done on this Om. Lot of thinking has gone behind this mantra Om for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. Not in the modern day with the test tube and alpha, beta, theta, not that madness analysis, not all that. Here it is done in a totally different, way. We will see all that. I'll be speaking about that also in the next session. Lot of time and effort and thinking and research has gone behind this Om. And then what is recommended in meditation? Use Om, because you chant Om, you prepare your body, a fit body, a relaxed body in the proper posture, and you chant Om. There is something that is pervasive there. That is the intonational meaning. When we say there is something that is pervasive there, don't bring any mysticism, supernatural energy, vibrations. Don't get into all those. Don't get into those weird things now. What it means is sound that is closer and closer and closer to natural way of producing the sound. There is a calmness. That's what it means. Languages are an unnatural way of producing sound. Articulate is the unnatural way of producing the sound. And there is the more natural way of producing the sound. Om is the most natural way of producing the sound, where even a dumb person can say Om. Even he can produce the sound Om. Last example, I conclude between articulate and inarticulate. The birds are chirping. The birds are chirping. The lion is roaring. When you hear all the sound, do you get irritated? Do you get frustrated? There is the waves. You go to the ocean, the waves produce a sound. These are all the most natural sounds that bring about a sense of a peace, a calmness. And that peace and calmness aids in meditation. That peace and calmness becomes an important aid in meditation. So they choose the sound that brings about this effect. Are you able to follow now? Drilling machine is also a sound, no? Yeah, drilling machine is also a sound. Yeah. Sometimes in the music concerts, I remember young, there used to be this concert that happens in the temples, the Mylapore temple concerts. Even now it is happening, but I don't get to go. In those days when I was going, some of the fellows will come sit right in the front. You need to know how to keep the beat right. No, if you don't know how to keep the beat right, it is so annoying. It disturbs the concentration. I have seen it any number of times. At the 10th, 15th minute, the singer will stop singing. We'll tell that fellow, konjam stop putting the taram. Just stop it. Why? The sound is an intonational there. It's not the meaning of the song there. What is the music there is not the lyrics. It's not the meaning. It's the sound. But sir, meanings புரிஞ்சா நல்லா இருக்கும்ல. If we know the meanings, it would be still better. No. It means you are not yet attuned to the subtler sound. If you are attuned to the subtler sound, lyrics doesn't make any. Lyrics is not of that importance. Because since you are not able to attune to the inarticulate, you need that articulate to attune to the inarticulate. And very important is to attune ourselves to the inarticulate aspect of the sound, what is called as intonational. It has a deep philosophical significance. It's the natural sound. It is articulate. It is inarticulate. It is philosophical. This word Om combines everything. Therefore, it is chosen to chant. This is the first reason for choosing the Om. And there are 3 more reasons which he has given, which we will take up in the next session, because we'll be continuing with the discussion of Om also into the next session. Subramaniam. Wait, they will let somebody unmute you, then you will. Solunga.
Now, one, this Om,
Yeah.
you always chant with the, at that point of time, one assumes that he is imagining Brahman within him. And he chants Om. Number 2, we also have the habit of worshipping God and idols. Om Namo Narayana or Shivaya Nama Om. There the Om is more for reverence. Is it so? Because there 108 namas are chanted.
When
everywhere they say Om, they add the word Om.
Now in the second,
So there so when I say Om, and I always presume that there is a Brahman within me, have on themselves.
See,
but it may sometimes be not easy to have that.
Yes. Now, psychologically, to bring an affinity to this mantra, Vedas have added Om to all that you chant, so that you develop so that the mind develops an affinity to Om. It is psychological. That's why for all the mantras I said, we precede all the mantras with Om.
Om.
A person who is not subtle enough to retain the Om alone needs another symbol added to it in the form of Rama or Krishna or Shiva or whoever it be. Even in that Shiva, it is difficult to chant one name, so they give 108. Even that 108 is difficult, and they give Sahasranama, 1000 names. When the names increases, it indicates the deterioration. When the number of names increases, the increase of names doesn't mean reverence, The increase of name it symbolizes deterioration. What is the deterioration? I am not able to focus with one name. I am not able to focus with one name. So the variety keeps the focus. Ultimately, what is attempted? Focus.
Number increase.
The focus is what is important here. So 1000 means a very poor level of concentration. 100, okay concentration. One name, you can just chant one name, is a very good, reasonably good level of concentration. Just Om. We have come to the level of meditation. So this is how the mantras are prefixed with Om all the time. First is when you chant Om, you don't associate that Om with any thought of Brahman within you. You don't do that. That is not meditation. That is not Om. When you chant Om, it is an no analysis, no reminder, no nothing, which I am going to explain in the next class. So when you are chanting Om, you don't remember that you are Brahman and chant Om. You don't do that in meditation. That you do in the initial stages. When you do the Sandhya Upasana morning, noon and night, you are supposed to do that. Asavadityo Brahma, Brahmaivahamasmi. Asavadityo Brahma, Brahmaivahamasmi. Asavadityo Brahma, Brahmaivahamasmi. The boy is taught, no? The children is taught. When you are supposed to say that mantra, you are supposed to touch your heart and look at yourself. When you say Asavadityo Brahma, Brahmaivahamasmi, you are supposed to say that is what you do in the initial stages, not when you have come to meditation. Are you able to follow the difference? So that is done.
Yes.
Remembering that you are Brahman and all is done in the initial stage, not in the seat of meditation. In the seat of meditation, it is only Om. Where is it reminded? When you it is reminded in the other practices. Example, when you do the Sandhya prayers, morning, afternoon, and evening, you are supposed to do the prayer thrice. And when you do the prayer thrice, you are supposed to remind yourself, Asavadityo Brahma, Brahmaivaham Asmi. Aham Asmi Brahma. Aham Asmi Brahma. Aham Asmi Brahma. That's what you are supposed to remember, not while chanting Om. When you are doing karmas, when you are doing actions and meditation, no such association happens in meditation. Is it okay, Subramanian?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Understand it like that, it becomes easy. Sure, yeah?
Yes. Okay. Next, yes.
Yeah. With this, we conclude for today and we continue with the study of Om also into the next session.